The interactive hour.
Yeah.
Awesome. Let's go. Let's interact. Let's have an hour or 50 minutes or something like that. Here we go.
Big week. It's a big week, buddy.
It's a big week, man. Really big week. I see right off the bat, we got questions from somebody. Did you say he's from Grumpy B? I like it. So some dude named Grumpy BK.
That's on the boards. Yeah, question on the boards. It came in one of our other threads for one of the shows. And I said, you know what, Grumpy, I'm going to pull this for the interactive hour. So I emailed you, and you have the questions.
I'll get to Grumpy BK in a little bit. Grumpy's asked a solid set of questions here, and we'll get to them. I just like that somebody named Grumpy BK. It's a man who knows who he is. He's grumpy.
He can be, too. He can be a little testy on the boards. Hello, Troy Noel. Hope you're doing well, brother.
Hello, everybody. I see our Wilmer. I see everybody here. I appreciate that. It's exciting times. As the hours have gone by, I just finished doing the Warchant report with Aslan, and I'm dropping shit with Aslan and Corey, and that was enjoyable. The more we talk about the game, you and I did the show today together, as we're wont to do, and we've all got a lot of content this week. A lot of us have a lot of work. We released, by the way, everybody out there, Tom and I did release a brand new Bellying Up. Most of that is not about FSU. The very end is. But that's out there as well. I tweeted that out just recently today. I wasn't paying attention if we let everybody know that or not, but it's on the feed.
So we did. I'll tell you what, let's cut to the chase on the Warchant report early here and spoil it for people who reward them for being here. We typically pick a very close score, you and I.
Yeah, we're pretty similar.
I have an experiment for you. So if you don't mind closing your eyes and giving your score, I'm going to wipe mine up on the screen. And let's see.
Do it.
Yeah.
All right, don't wipe it up yet. I'm contemplating. Okay, so here we go. There you go. You ready?
Yep.
I picked Florida State 31, Clemson 24.
Oh, very close.
What'd you pick?
38-24.
Yeah, we are very close. So, I think 31-24 feels right. I contemplated 31-23. I even had a nerve-wracking 31-28 on my mind for a while there.
Yeah.
But we both have them scoring over 30 points in the game. And I think even when this offense is bad, they're good enough to score 30 points. And that's the interesting thing about them. I almost feel like they roll out of bed scoring 30. Certainly they have the last 9 or 10 games that they've played. So I think they'll clean up a lot of the problems on offense. The things that kind of reared their ugly head there in the second half, where they became real stagnant over the last quarter. I feel like they'll clean that up. That's actually, in my mind, that is easily remedied, frankly. Yeah. I am less certain that they'll clean up their defensive problems. I'm not here to tell you that I don't think they won't clean them up. I'm just less certain of that outcome than I am the offensive outcome.
And they could give up points, like a decent amount of points on Saturday, and actually have cleaned some things up. It's just you're playing a much better offense this time around. I think, would that be fair to say?
Yeah, probably. But better than BC, sure. But yeah. I don't know that it's better than LSU's.
Sure.
So, they owned LSU in the second half of that football game. And so it's a possibility that they'll have a good night, but a good night for this team on defense might be 24, and in modern football, that's not unusual. That's not like some crazy anomaly that, hey, we're looking at this and saying that they can't keep people under 20 points. I think bad offenses they can, but I think if you're a good offense in the modern era, you're going to score over 20 points. So I would call it a good day if Florida State goes up there and holds Clemson to 24 or less.
Yeah, Noles fan says he's going to be in the nosebleeds. Good luck, man. Those are very steep. I've been there before. In the
They're actually a little nerve-wracking. Like you get nervous being up there. It is strange, right?
Yeah, it's a little harrowing. I was there. It was, I think, a Monday night game. Years and years ago, I was an undergrad, so we play up there in odds, maybe 07. And there were so many overserved college kids in the area.
Yeah, you hold your breath.
And they wobble back and forth behind you, and you're like, man, if one of these kids falls, we are dominoes straight to hell. Like, we got problems here. So, yeah, be careful up there, man.
Golly, my first Clemson games a long time ago now. It is way back in the 90s, early 90s. And I remember that was the first thing that I thought of was, well, this is a bit ridiculous. I mean,
Yeah.
and then because I am fond of the drink and was especially so as a student. So, so I was slightly nervous as we kicked it off. Austin writes, is a shootout possible? Yeah, it is. It really is. Early in the week on Monday, I woke up thinking we may see a bunch of points. I've tempered that a little bit, and I'll tell you why. I think our defensive line is going to play well. I think that they're going to, if they're healthy, and I think they have a chance to be. So I think they'll play well, and I don't think this is a dominant Clemson offensive line. I think you got a chance. If I were if I were Adam, I'm taking the reins off. I'd rather go down swinging, man. Don't be out here half stepping.
Mhm.
Go down swinging. You got some horses up front, and I'm unleashing those puppies. This kid isn't freaking Jordan Travis back there at quarterback who's going to run for 40 yards if you miss. He can run. He is mobile. He is an athlete, and I think he's going to be a real good player. But he hasn't started a ton of football games, and I'm going to let my guys play with their hair on fire here.
Yeah, and he does weird stuff if he feels he's under pressure, like young kid kind of stuff. I get it that he started a few games last year, got some exposure. There are a couple of throws he's made, specifically in the Duke game, where he's dead to rights behind the line of scrimmage, and he basically tries to throw an interception by going across the field and soft. Think Jordan Travis mistake towards the end of the first half against LSU, like that kind of a thing. He's done that a couple times. He will sail the ball too. So if you're a safety, be alert. Every once in a while, for no reason, it's not like a sequence of the game, a momentum thing. The ball will just sail on his ass. So he's going to give you a chance to take the ball away. The question is, can you do so in those circumstances? That's how an Avalanche builds. The only concern I have for the defensive front is this scheme from Garrett Riley does use gap, so he will change the geography of the fight, as Mike Norvell often does.
We do that incessantly, and we do it really well.
Yeah, so even if we stop the straight ahead run, which is a part of their offense, there's no doubt, but even if we stop that, their two-back set it can go any which way at any time, and so you really have to be a lot smarter than you were against BC, because if you aren't...
You have to be smarter, and you got to dominate. You got to care to dominate. You got to play with a lot of leverage. You got to be strong, and you got to care to want to dominate. Now, listen, we talked about this coming into the season. They've got some depth there, so you can challenge your guys to play really hard and understand that when you're tired, come off the field. We got you. There's somebody behind you that can get the job done too. Last week, they didn't have somebody behind them that could come in and get the job done. Whether it was illness or injury or both, they did not have their full allotment of guys. And I thought some of the guys out there played like they were tired pretty early on. So what I would like to think is that is not an element of this game that we're going to see, that you're back to being pretty strong up front, pretty stout, and really willing to lean on somebody now. I mean, you know what? I'll do it right now. Fabian Levitt, can you have a good game for the first time in a long time? Can you show up and be the guy you once were? Can Fabian Levitt, who we've been very careful with, and I understand why. That guy was nursing an injury. He's got an NFL future. He's a good kid. He's a hard worker. This is not a shot at character. Go be the badass you're capable of being. We only really need you to kick some ass in about 3 games this year. And this is one of them. I need you to be that guy on Saturday afternoon. Just like I need Farmer, just like I need the rest of this defensive line. Jared Verse, Patrick Payton, I need you guys to Braden Fisk. I need you guys to be those dudes in this game so that when you do take your breather and the complimentary players come in, they can hold it down for a few. But when you get your chance, you got to go to war here, guys. I need that game. Don't save anything here. You've got a bye week after this game, Tom, and you got Virginia Tech, which might as well be a bye week the week after. Yeah. So get your ass out there and dominate.
As it relates to Fabian, if not now, when? Mike Norvell said in camp that they took their time with a lot of veterans, played a lot of football, ramped them up, managed them. All right, Fabian, if that was the case for you, which I think we can all agree it was at this point, it's been weeks since camp is over, and you saw the snap count against LSU, which wasn't a ton.
No.
Here is your time.
Let's go.
Now is your time. Now,
yeah, let's go.
If it doesn't happen that way, Tim is asking the pessimistic side of the question, perhaps realistic. We'll see what happens on Saturday. If we end up looking like last week, what can or will be done at that point?
Well, the good news is there aren't a lot of teams that can do anything about it. Like, you're going to win a lot of these games regardless. There are two ways to view the question of the way we looked last week and some of the inconsistencies in the first three games that we've witnessed. One of the ways to look at that is that every game is unto itself. And so you cannot say that some of the problems you saw in week one against LSU are also problems born for the same reason in week three. I don't think so. I think every game has been different. But we don't know, Tom, and this is what's interesting. This is why I said at the beginning of the week, this is a week where a lot of questions are going to get answered, good and bad. Let's hope they're good. What happens to, no matter how well they get along, I think it is fair to categorize them as this. What happens to a group of mercenaries, of guys who left where they were to come to a better, brighter place, who bought in and said and did all the right things upon arriving here, but no doubt have real NFL aspirations? They want the ball. They want to have an opportunity to showcase. What happens if things go south and you don't play as well as you thought you would, and you lose a football game on the heels of playing poorly against BC? Does it come off the tracks?
Yeah.
I don't know the answer to that. And I don't know that anybody really does. You'd like to believe the answer is a resounding no. But there are real benefits to building your team through the high school recruiting avenue, as opposed to plucking talent. And again, I have reiterated this time and again, Tom, they've done a very good job of not just finding guys that could play, but guys that wanted to play here and abide by the rules of coming to play here.
Yeah.
But again, all that's really happened is that it's been kumbaya. They've won games. They've looked good. They've had their praises sung. They're ranked in the top 4. What happens if they face adversity? They finally did last week. Let's see how they respond.
Yeah, I think for two reasons, nothing will come from it in that sense. Number one, nothing is lost in terms of your ultimate goals, even if you lose this weekend. Now you got to play perfect from there on out, so the interest is held. Number two, if I just go one by one on the players that have been brought in this year, not multi-year transfers, I'm going to assume that a multi-year transfer is bought into Mike Norvell. And a lot of these guys returned, not just because maybe the logo at the bottom of the screen right there had a hand in it, or but also because they believe in Mike. If they didn't, you go get more money in the professional ranks. But year one guys, or mercenaries, true mercenaries, are Keon Coleman, Braden Fisk, Fentrell Cypress, Keandre Jones, Jeremiah Byers, Casey Roddick. I mean, are any of those guys going to be a problem? I don't foresee that. They've never shown indications that they would be a malcontent. And I think, to your point earlier, they do a very good job of screening on the way in to make sure that guys will fit neatly into this situation. There's nothing, Tim, to answer Tim's question. There's nothing that can be done in terms of, like, people say, well, when will coaches be held accountable? That, to me, is code for fired. Nothing's going to happen coming out of the Clemson game where somebody's reassigned or fired, even if it's a disaster. I don't think that's realistic.
Well, it would be silly to do that now, but we could tackle the larger issues at the end of the season.
Yeah. Or if we even need to, you win this game, there is no larger issue to tackle,
Can our guards block Clemson's defensive tackles? Coming into the season, thought that was a strength, but it hasn't come to fruition. It depends on, we talk about some guys that are better suited to run block, other guys that are better suited to pass block. It's weird, the kind of mix and match. They haven't been healthy in the way that we had hoped. Mo missing time has hurt them, I think. And then obviously Robert Scott's been out. I think that's hurt them a little less so because I like Bless Harris. I know he's a tackle. I'm just talking about them not having their full strength and having to use people in different ways. Obviously Meach being out, it's interesting. You don't like to have to test that depth, do you? But we always seem to have to.
Yeah.
Especially because that position almost requires it.
Yeah.
Answering the question, yeah, I think they can. I think they can. I think I'll tell you this much, and I don't think this is talking out of school. I was at practice today. I watched intently, took notes, watched very carefully. This is an intense group, and Alex Atkins got their attention today. I think Alex had a mission today. We're not allowed to watch tomorrow's practice, so I won't be able to tell you anything about that. But I thought there was some stern discussion this morning.
Well, yeah, there's almost like after the ball snap, it's really hard to describe, but it's almost like they gather themselves before they get downhill and block. That's what I saw a lot against Boston College. It just didn't make sense. They're not firing off the ball is the easier way to say it, but it almost looks like what Trey Benson does when he's thinking about running, they're doing when they're trying to block, and everything about gap and what they're doing, the counter, is timing based. It's about timing, and it's about synchronization between the two guys that are pulling. And if you're the lead guy, the lead guard, or Darius Washington at center, and you don't do your job, the second guy is hung out to dry, and the play is a disaster. And I'm not saying that that's always happened this year in counter, but I've seen instances last week specifically where Darius looked confused as to where to go and who to block.
Yes.
So then Jeremiah Byers is twisting in the wind and having to make a decision that he shouldn't have to make. And it's almost like a read option if you're the lineman behind him. The way Alex Atkins teaches it is you have to look at the outside hip, and wherever the hip goes, that tells you where your assignment is. But if you stutter step, then this whole thing looks like just a disaster. So if you do that against Clemson's defensive front, you're going to get killed. But the thing is, this group, if Mo is back especially, but this group held up against LSU's defensive line. And for me, buddy, I think LSU's defensive front is better than Clemson's defensive front.
I do too. Ed asked a question that I won't read, Ed, for the reasons that I don't want to get in trouble, but I'll answer. I think one of the two. So
that question. All right. We're talking Ed Lemix?
Yeah, we're talking about the rock star.
Oh, there we go. Well, thank you, Ed. There you go. Got some coffee.
Yes, and I will enjoy my. Oh man, I'll put it in the other room. Okay, I have it. Tom finally delivered the coffee that you delivered, Ed. I've been waiting on this coffee. I've been parched. It's Wednesday. I still haven't had the coffee yet. Tomorrow morning, I will get an opportunity to enjoy DeLuna coffee.
If we win, I know I'm putting you on the spot here, but you'll be in good spirits. If we win, will you patch into the post game and drop a little bit of what Luis is talking about?
A suck at Clemson reference?
It's been 7 years. Or are you going to wait till Monday? I can respect that if you want to wait till Monday.
Oh, I might prank call, and you could call in, and then you pick it up like, whoever this is in Tallahassee, it's, yeah.
Yeah.
What was it, the Vino?
Jerry, yeah.
Who was the Vino?
I'll tell you. Yeah. That way nobody knows. Because if I say it now, then people will know. And I say, "Hey, what the hell?" Mark T in Panama City is the Mark T.
Wasn't his signature always something Vino something?
Yeah.
It was always the best.
It was always something different. It was always something different.
Yeah, I might do something like that, and then you'd be like, "Vino is on the line," and I'll think of it, and then
So Terry screens the call. So have fun with Terry then. And just
Terry will be in the bag screening those calls if we win.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, here we go, boys. Let's get things started. I said I would pop one tonight. Swim with the old school highlight tall boy.
You'll never guess what's in here.
Water.
Yeah.
Ooh, mine sounds better.
It does. Most impactful player on Saturday. Most impactful player. And I want to go, you can't say Jordan. You can't say Jordan. So somebody else outside of the quarterback. Who do you think?
My answer was Jordan Travis. That was my answer, and I mean it.
Maurice Smith.
Most impactful player. I like the question. Jaheim Bell.
Okay. I think, and there was a question, one of the ones that is in your email from Grumpy BK. I'm going to pull from that because you're talking about Jaheim Bell, which is, you're talking about secondary or tertiary targets in the offense and the slot receivers. Clemson plays a lot of zone, and they'll tell you before the snap what they're doing. This to me screams as a Winston Wright game. Even if it's 4 catches for 34 yards, it might be a couple of those.
Jaheim can line up in the slot. And I think we're going to have some tight end loving for that ass this weekend. I'm telling you now.
Now, the phrasing there is fantastic. But I'm talking about somebody who just, 6 yards, sit down in a zone and find the hole. Like Winston knows how to do that. That's what he specialized in at West Virginia. I just, there'll be times where Clemson, they're mixed. That they're multiple. They'll bring pressures. They'll play man. They'll play zone. But there are times when, again, in that mid-level, it's just about find an open spot, turn around, and take the ball. I think Winston could be more useful, and I think given his experience, you could trust him more than a Destin in this situation. I want Destin for the goes. I don't need Destin to sit down underneath.
Can I answer Grumpy, what's his face? Grumpy BK?
Yeah.
Can I, and I don't mean any offense to you, Grumpy. Why aren't we running more quick slants? Aren't Keon and Hill perfect for those routes? They are, and we have run some. Jordan refuses to throw to the middle of the field currently, and I'm tired of it. So let's see if we can get back to doing that. It opens up an awful lot of stuff. And yeah, middle of the field would be nice. I've got one question. Kristen writes, if I give you the top kicker or the top punt returner, what do you take? Well, I'm going to assume that if I don't take the top punt returner, that the alternative is not that the punt returner is a disaster, but merely catches the ball and doesn't do anything. So I would rather have the better kicker right now, because I think in a close game, you want to trust that you can get points with 7 minutes to play of a tie ball game, and it's 4th and 6 from the 27, and I don't have to go for it. I can kick my field goal, take the lead, and kick off, and let's play football.
Yeah, you want the top kicker. Now, if it was between kick returner and punt returner, I would still take punt returner over kick returner.
Yeah, especially the way the modern – yes, of course, yes.
It's so hard to get 5 yards. Like, Winston has had a couple good returns, and it's like, wow, great return, Winston. He got to the 30.
Yeah.
Was it really
5 total yards of the return? Yeah.
Was it worth all of that risk to get a block in the back or a hold for 5 yards? I mean,
it's frustrating. Yeah.
I fundamentally don't understand that. For FSU to get the win, how many Jordan Travis rushing yards? There you go. So eliminate the sacks from the yardage total. You said we got to run.
Football's stupid and they count sacks, although he doesn't often get sacked.
Nope.
I think they're going to call runs for Jordan, but I can't know this because, and guys, I'll say this in all seriousness, this is not secrecy. I just don't know the extent of Jordan's pain in the shoulder that we all saw get hurt. So that's not, we know his shoulder got hurt. We know he was in a sling. We know it was dangling, like we've seen several times with Jordan in his career here. So we know he hurt it. I also know he practiced today and he was really good. So
was he? Yeah, actually, we didn't talk about that. He was good.
Jordan was good in practice today. He looked good. He looked sharp, and the offense looked good today. So I can't tell you what they were running, but I can tell you that they looked good. I would, if he's healthy and it's just a pain tolerance thing, then I would call early in this game, I'd get him involved with design runs. I'd get Jordan running, or I'd put an emphasis in my talking points. If it's not there, take off. I want Clemson back on their heels, fearing that this is a possibility, that the Jordan they've seen run the ball to great success is alive and well.
Yep.
Because right now the film suggests maybe not.
Yeah, agreed. It's about the signal more than it is like, I've heard the cliche about getting a guy hit to get him into the game. No, this is about putting defenders in conflict and
having them on their heels. It also opens up the regular running game.
Yeah.
So it's a math equation. Get Jordan involved with his feet, either through designed runs or let him know early. If we get you out of the pocket, and we love to get him out of the pocket. So if we get him out of the pocket rolling left or right, and it's not there, go, man. You are a gifted runner.
Yep.
Go and get down.
Yeah.
Go and get out of bounds. But get your yards and let Clemson know that man is back, that guy that has torched teams that you've watched on film and at times even them, he's alive and well.
And that's not something that happened early in LSU. He had a couple of chances to run, and he decided
to do it.
Right. And as a pro prospect, as a guy who likes to watch the NFL, I love seeing a quarterback keep his eyes down the field at all times. But, take the 8 yards in front of you, my man, and take the simpler play. He said that today, finally, he had about a 5-minute interview. You can find it on the channel. It was one of the final questions. And Aslan didn't even ask him about that specifically, but Jordan made a point to say, take what's in front of you.
Well,
It's
Tom,
been drilled home. It's been drilled home, man.
Oh, clearly that is a direct talking point from the head coach.
Yeah.
I mean, he got all of the film he needed to show him in the last game.
Oh, I mean, yes. And Southern Miss too, and which, well, I don't know if that was really what Mike said it was. Do you think Coach Norvell has gone vanilla on and experimented on defense since the LSU game? I think they were working on things.
I don't think they were working on things on defense. I think they were worn out by the flu and they were missing some personnel and they had some busts. I think as far as the offense goes, there's a possibility they were trying to put some things on film for everybody to have to worry about and to test some certain theories they might have. But I think now you got to get back to who you are. And I think you got to utilize your quarterback here. I mean, you got a guy that's truly special. And it can be such a trap for a quarterback and for a coach to try to do things to please somebody else, to please the receiver, the tight end, perhaps even the quarterback. And I get that they all have dreams, but your job as a coach, as a college coach, is to win college football games. So I have stood my ground on this for a long time. I've had pushback from people in the industry, meaning coaching industry, who will tell me I'm nuts. That if you're going to recruit at the highest levels, at some point you do have to cater to that bigger dream for that kid. Yeah, I'll cater to that against Va Tech. I ain't catering to that against Clemson. My job and my long-term success and my stated goals when I was hired by the university is to win these kinds of games and to put us in a position to play for national championships. And if the best opportunity I have to do that, to complete that task, is to utilize a unique skill set of a certain player who's gifted in a way that I don't have anywhere else on the roster, well, then, damn it, I'm going to do that, especially in these moments. Now, if you want to work on pocket passing and certain downfield throws and certain reads, yeah, by all means, let's try that out against Southern Miss. But I don't need to try that out against Clemson.
Yeah, correct. Scott asks, who has the better defense, LSU or Clemson?
LSU made poor choices. LSU made one particular poor choice going into the game that I think cost them dearly, and the use of Perkins was ridiculous. I would never have done that, and I'm glad they failed the test. Their defensive line is better than Clemson's, especially, frankly, now that it's healthy. But, yeah, their defensive line is better. Clemson's corners are more aggressive.
Yeah, I think they're better in coverage.
Yeah, I think they're better in coverage too. I would side with you there. There's a chance, guys. There's just a chance Clemson's not very good. There's a chance of this. I'm here to tell you now. When you watch them, and I've watched more today than I have after the Duke game. These other games I haven't watched much of, but there's a chance they're not. Now, does that mean we're guaranteed to go win and blow Clemson out? Of course not. Do they have good players still? Yes. You know what else they have? A ton of pride, playing at home with everything on the line. Their season is on the line, not ours. Their season is on the line. If they have 2 ACC losses in the first 4 weeks, and one of them is to us, I think they're in deep trouble in terms of trying to get to the ACC championship.
Oh, yeah.
It seems unlikely, right?
Well, yeah, they got Miami and North Carolina still.
Right. So I think that they're going to play their best game. They're going to play hard. They're going to give it all they have here. So you have to overcome that, and you can't let this thing tidal wave. If you play poorly and sloppy early and they have some success early, which God forbid, because it seems to me that one of the Achilles heels of Adam Fuller is that we give up opening drives and big plays early. We love to do it. So we could stop that nonsense and get a stop on the first series of the game and get out in front and make Clemson begin to doubt themselves. Because I think deep down they do. But if you let them play from in front and get that crowd involved, and then you continue to worry about what we are with the confusion of last week, you could see this thing avalanche. So when I talk about there's a possibility that Florida State could go up there and dominate and maybe Clemson's not that good, that's one angle. The other angle is that we don't take advantage of early opportunities. Our defense gives up a big drive early, and all of a sudden you're in a war with a team that is playing for their life.
I mean, Boston College started to believe last week, and you're sweating bullets in the fourth. The Clemson's far more gifted than that. But to your point, I think this is what you're getting at too about the talent of Clemson's defense, as we talked about. A base age says if they score over 30 when they're bad, and you think, and this is your prediction, they score 31. Does that mean you think that the offense will be bad on Saturday?
Oh, I'm sorry. If they score over 30 when they are bad, and you think they will score 31, no, it means there's a step up in competition in on the road at Clemson, fighting for their season. And I think Clemson's good enough to make some stops.
Yeah.
So I know I appreciate that question. Actually, that was well done.
We've got Hayden. Thank you for the looking at. Hey, Hayden, looking like you're a bodybuilder there. There you go, and your avatar. Thank you for the contribution. He says he accepted an invite to a neighbor's wedding. Over under the game is finished by 3:30. What do you think?
The new clock helps your case, Hayden. The new
both
clock.
Teams are gonna run. I think both teams are going to run. I think you got a good shot.
I think you got a good shot too. It's going to be close, probably on the number.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's see. We've got another question. I don't see any question marks. What is FSU Pistols and Pie? From Eric.
Pistols and Pie comes from Seminole headlines, and that's an old thing. It originated, honestly, because of Miami, the University of, and those glory years for the Canes, where they would do the pistols after big plays. And I always thought it was ridiculous and hilarious all at the same time. And I would sometimes do that to my friends, and I would do that after successful segments or if I was playing a pickup game or anything. And I would do pistols at people, kind of making fun of Miami's ridiculousness. And then somewhere along the way, we incorporated pistols after successful segments. And then pie, I don't want to get into.
Yep. All right. Sacknell asks, hey, Jeff Tom, will Biscuit get the ball this week? From Pie to Biscuit.
Yes. He will get the ball this week, and tight ends are going to play a big role in the victory on Saturday.
All right. Well, I'd love to see 85 out there blocking a little bit more.
I love him. I think he's a great player, and I think he should play over Morlock.
Yeah. I'll answer this one, Scott. I know you guys can't say, but when will we learn about injuries? Akeem Dent offensive line, when they trot out on the field? Yes. Now you could tune into the pregame show.
At 11 o'clock, Tom, Saturday morning with you and me.
That's right. And we will tell you who warms up and who doesn't. So that's when you will know. Come right back here. We got you.
I feel good about one of the guys that you asked about.
Yep. I think you do. Verse over under 1.5 sacks. That's a lot. Under. Oh, you want to do it. You want to pull the trigger.
Man, he's playing good football. They're chipping, and now he knows, Tom. I think you got to remember now, this is a guy who could be a top 10 pick. You don't prove you're a top 10 pick because you played well against Southern Miss and BC.
Yep.
You prove you're a top 10 pick when you dominate the big boys. So it'd be nice to see him go to war for a signature moment. And if he does, he could get 2 sacks.
Okay. This is quasi-injury related, but not really. It's about impact. Are we panicking if Dent is out for this game? I think last week really showed how valuable he is for the defense. Were you sold on Akeem Dent for in the absence of Akeem Dent? What his importance is?
I think it's evident. I'll let their offseason tell you. I don't have to give you my opinion on that because we already know. Yep. They pursued a safety and really went after him. They wanted this safety badly. The problem is they were up against Alabama to get him. And they lost. They lost the battle to get the guy they wanted. And I think they knew they had a lack of safety depth, experience safety depth behind their starters. I think they like their future at safety just fine. But the future is next year and the year after. It's not this year. And we saw last week, Tom, when they're missing Akeem Dent, is he a plus dominant all ACC player? No. Does he know where the hell to be? Yes. And so I think we saw that without that guy, just the steadiness of knowing what the calls are and where to be is a real problem. Because in fairness to Kevin Noles and I'm speaking poorly of him, and I have since Saturday. I like Kevin Noles. I like how hard he's worked. I like how he had a willingness to change positions. I like that he added weight, which shows real dedication to the cause. But he was lost, and they don't have any experience behind him, and he's being asked to play a new position. Frankly, he's undersized for the position. But anyhow, they're asking him to play a new position. And yes, we miss Akeem Dent when he doesn't play, period. Now, can you remedy this situation and fix it? Do you have all the evidence you need from last week to say, listen, man, this is what we're doing here?
Yeah. I think you can simplify with him on the field and it'll be fine. I've seen it with my own eyes. The question is about the chain of communication. It's not only on the sideline. I agree that it falls on the sideline when it doesn't work, and it doesn't work in a timely fashion. When Shaheem was lining up Conrad Hussey, it still sticks in my brain on that one play. Like, man, I don't know that Shaheem's the traffic cop that Akeem was. I think we need Akeem to be the traffic cop. So that's the concern I have, is if there's motion, which there ought to be after what BC put on tape.
Yeah.
What do we do with that? The linebackers look better at it than the defensive backs, but it's a bit of a mess.
Don't get me started on our linebackers.
I won't. R. Wilmer has a correction on this. How long do we stick with number 3, Trey Benson, if he does not hit the hole hard and fast? How long do you stay with Trey Benson?
Not long at all. I'm not pussyfooting on Saturday. We're out here to win a football game, and it's a big one. You want to go into the bye 4-0. You need to win this game. I need somebody to hit the hole here. I don't know what's going on with Trey. Hopefully we're not asking that question after this week. You've got other running backs. They're all good. There's a lot of good in that room, a lot of talent. One of them's Tom's favorite player on the team, and Rodney Hill. I'd run him. He runs with passion and is decisive. But I'm here to tell you I'm a big Keziah Holmes guy. I've been trumpeting this since the start of the season. I'd give him a look. I don't know what he did to piss everybody off, but I'd have him on the field. And then CJ Campbell doesn't suck. You've got options.
Yeah, my thought on 26 Holmes would be first and second down. I don't think you want him out there on third, but that's okay. Those downs matter. We're not winning on those downs. So, it would be nice to win those every once in a while. Eric wants to know about the middle of the field. Travis threw the ball over the middle in the LSU game. Keon's first touchdown was a slant. That's right. We have called a slant, and it was successful.
Correct.
What has changed since then, do you think?
I don't know. I feel like I think some teams will try to take that away, but we haven't set up the middle of the field very well.
Yeah, there's been things that are open over the middle. What got us going in the second half against Boston College was a throw deep middle of Johnny Wilson. So there was one there, middle of the field. The Jaheim should have been touchdown. That was down at the 1 yard line and
that was a touchdown, and that ref is blind. And by the way, why in the hell do we have instant replay? What is the point?
Yeah, no.
I mean, are you so worried about embarrassing an official or somebody that got it wrong? I mean, just throw it out. I mean, it's not close, Tom. It's not close on that play. It's a touchdown. It's not close.
Yeah. What infuriates me about that ruling is I really believe my conspiracy theory holds on this one. It's like that the tennis thing doesn't really exist.
It does exist, Tom.
I know.
Besmirching tennis.
Well, tennis replay is much better. But I really believe they've got somebody patched into the TV broadcast. And the way that the nation is consuming it is the way they might go in a 50-50 situation. This is my conspiracy theory.
The nation knew that was a touchdown.
Well, because Matt Austin, the guy on the broadcast, said, no, I think it's a touchdown, but we don't have a conclusive video proof.
Yeah, but he's making the point that's a valid point to make, which is, what is the call on the field? Do we have definitive proof? And I'll tell you something, man, these announcers must get told that they cannot go overboard about defining definitive proof. Because I would have said, if Tom Lang and Jeff Cameron were in the booth, and we aren't the dear friends that we are, and we're just two dudes working together, and you try to sell me this bag of goods that's not definitive, we're in an argument in the booth. I'm like, are you effing blind? I'm looking at the replay. My man is 3 yards across. His knee's not down. This is dumb.
Yep. Yeah. I know. I 100% agree. My issue with that is we make those determinations without a perfect video camera angle all the time and change the ruling on the field all the time. And they're not nearly as obvious as Jaheim Bell's touchdown, as recourse to call that, and the ruling on the field is overturned. Like, for example, last Thursday, you got the fumble out of bounds for Justin Jefferson on Thursday Night Football.
Mm.
I would argue there is less definitive video proof about where the ball goes over relative to the pylon than there is Jaheim Bell breaking the plane of the end zone before a body part touches down. But they changed that to a touchback. I mean, it just doesn't.
Also, that rule in the NFL is the dumbass rule. Of
it
all
is,
time.
but they're determining where the ball goes over the edge with a non-perfect angle. You just pick and choose. That's my problem with these definitive proof. Bull crap, man. They just pick and choose.
It is not, and my problem is too, it's not hard. And also, some people brought it up in the chat and they're right about this. And this is a thing that pisses me off. So obviously I get passionate when we talk about it. There is no way in modern football that you do not have a pylon cam at every game. What are we doing?
You can afford it, guys. Yeah.
Well, it's $1 billion industry. Put a camera on the pylon. It's not hard.
Well, they also have the technology to pinpoint the GPS on anything that they want to, but they decide not to do it, especially at the professional level. It's just unforgivable.
Agreed.
Maximus on checkdowns for Garrett Riley's quarterback, Cade Klubnik, over under 20 checkdowns. What do you think?
Well, I think he's checking down all the time in this game. Yes.
I have a graphic to that effect. That's why I was kind of stalling there. I'm using this for tomorrow's piece on the website.
Yeah.
And here you go. These are all the quarterbacks in the history of Garrett Riley's offensive coordinator career. He's a young man. This is his fourth season as an offensive coordinator. He's had 4 different quarterbacks. Take a look at the behind the line of scrimmage / under 9 yards percentages compared to everybody. Shane Buechele was close, but nobody was in the ballpark of 68%.
Good old Shane Buechele.
Remember him?
Yeah. By the way, very impressive to see what Max Duggan did.
Look at that deep percentage. 18% of the time, they chucked the ball down the field like crazy. And
he was good. He was actually really good. Here, by the way, Clemson lost Cole Turner for the year. They don't have elite receivers. Antonio Williamson is a pretty nice player. He's a sophomore. They don't,
he reminds me, here's why I'm worried. He reminds me of Pearsall. That's why I'm worried about that kid. His game it's not going to be over the top 4-3, but it's underneath and make you miss in short areas. That concerns me, given what Florida, with no other receiver but Pearsall, was able to do to us last year over the middle.
Yeah, it's nuts. This Clemson team is not what they were. Like I said, they lose Cole Turner. They've had some injuries on the offensive line. It's a new offense, a new coordinator, a quarterback that hasn't played a ton of football. Play like your hair's on fire and get him thinking. Eric, I'm not annoyed, man. I see you talking about it. I'm annoyed. I'm annoyed by us not playing to our potential. I get annoyed when we allow people to hang around and do things they shouldn't do, but I'm not annoyed in any way. I'm pumped up. You're mistaken annoyed for fired up for a game that is really important. It's going to give us a lot of answers too, by the way. I mean,
it's also achieving all the goals that you set out to do. You're 4-0 at the bye. You got the inside track to go to Charlotte. You got the inside track to the college football playoff. I mean, this is massive. I didn't think Clemson would be unranked in one poll and number 23 in the other poll. It doesn't matter. You get this one done. That's a legitimate game.
And that doesn't even matter, by the way. I mean, that was one ugly, awful moment. And I'm not trying to excuse away losing to Duke, but Duke is good. They won 9 games a year ago. Elko's a freaking awesome coach. They've got a good quarterback. They're really sound on defense. I love their defense and the way they coach it. But I will tell you that game was a fluke. That was turnovers in the red zone. That was crazy turnover after crazy turnover inside the 5. If Clemson scores at any point to take the lead there, which they had numerous opportunities to do, I think they're going to win the game. But, at some point it's backbreaking to have those turnovers in those situations. And when you get down by 2 scores because of that, and you're on the road and it's the first game and now you're shook with a new coordinator and a new quarterback and all these problems. I mean, I think it avalanched on them, but you can't turn the ball over that way. I don't suspect that they'll come out and do that. So you're going to get a better effort. And I don't hold them to that Duke game in the same way that if I were a Clemson supporter, I wouldn't necessarily hold FSU to that BC game.
Yeah. Well, but this is where the Duke question is a tough one. As you're trying to assess what Clemson is, a good point by R. Wilmer. Either Duke is faster than we all believe, or Clemson's speed is average at wideout, or average other places too. I think on defense too.
Oh, but they will hit you. They do play aggressive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
how tough are we? There you go. There's a question. How tough are we? Let's answer that on Saturday, because I know Will Shipley's a tough son of a bitch.
Yeah.
And I'm tired of watching that guy be tough. It's been 10 years he's been back there running the ball. Swear to God, he's bald, fat, mortgage, everything else, kids. It's ridiculous. I'm tired of Shipley. But I admire the way he runs the football. He is very tough, and he tests your manhood.
Both backs do, and they're both willing to block for each other. It's something to be envious of, but hopefully our running backs show up and we say, all right, well, it's a wash. It's a wash between those running backs and ours. I'll go a little bit more rapid fire here. Justin, is it wrong that I fear Duke, Miami, and Florida more after what he saw against BC, I'm assuming? What do you think?
No. Okay, so people were quick to jump on me after I said that I thought Florida was better than they showed against Utah. That Utah is not the Utah team that I've sung the praises of the last few years. That they look like they're lacking a little bit in some areas. And they didn't even have their starting quarterback, who I think will be back this weekend. And so we'll have to reassess Utah. But that's a betting angle. Anyhow, so that was a conversation where people said, well, maybe, Jeff, but I don't know how you have the 4th pick in the draft and they still lose 6 games. Well, because that dude completed 52% of his passes. He was either really good or effing terrible. And so when he was really good, it was a problem. It was a real problem. When he was bad, he was really bad.
Yeah.
Now, I think they have some players there, and I think they're starting to get it righted a little bit on defense, and I think they're going to be a decent team. I'm not telling you that they're great. They're not going to win the division. SEC still has divisions, right? Yeah, they're not going to win the East. They're not going to win that. That's fine. Georgia or somebody else will, but I picked them to beat Tennessee. I thought they'd beat Tennessee, and they did easily. And they're going to make you play well. That game's on the road. You're going to have to go play well. Miami, I said this before the year. They're better on the offensive and defensive line than they were last year. Going out and getting those transfers, we talked, we go back to our conversation in Charlotte. Like, I think he really legitimately believed they could protect him better and that they would run the ball, which would set up play action. And look at the way they're playing. They're playing that way right now. That's going to be a tough game. It'll be here. So, but this will be a tough game. And then the Duke game is here as well. And I don't think Duke has enough offensive weapons. So I feel good about that. But I think that you got to play tough.
Right. If you play like you do against Boston College, you should be right. You should fear all 3 of those teams. All of them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Don't do that. There you go, guys. Play better.
Don't play like that, guys.
Florida Man Fosling, do you think we get College Game Day and Tally this year for Miami or Duke?
The only chance is Miami.
If they're undefeated and we're undefeated, that's a lock. You could lock that in.
And it would be awesome.
When do you think they'll involve Destin Hill more? When Jordan throws to him?
And he's been open a lot.
Yeah.
He made a great catch today in practice, Tom. It was a beautiful ball in the middle of the field, and it was a one-handed snag, and he would have been gone. So,
yep.
It's a good indicator.
A lot of people are asking about this, about Jordan throwing over the middle, wide open plays. Yeah, I'm sure he's heard about it. He said in the article on ESPN that he loves to screenshot social media stuff to keep himself motivated, which is so of the younger generation. But I hope he's
stupid. It's also a dumb thing to do.
I agree. I just hope he's screenshotting stuff that says, hey, man, take the open guy underneath. He's right in front of your face. Screenshot that.
You take that audio of the Jeff Cameron show where Tough Love comes in here and gets you right. I've had many a player at FSU on the record give us quotes that they thank Jeff Cameron show for getting them right.
Billy Strode was the first of them. There's a deep cut for you casual Nole fans out there. Who coaches the safeties? Says Jason. Are you worried about Surtain at all after that performance?
Yes.
Ooh, that's actually, you have not said that on the air yet.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think he looks like a first-year guy at this level, and I'm a little worried. Yeah.
So I'll say this again for this audience, but that suplex tackle by Azarie Thomas on second down that is followed up by a linebacker running the wrong way so that they can run 40 yards on third and forever. That is what we saw. Stuff like that in camp. where there's communication, there's a pass off, and then there's a play made in the flats. We're good at defending the flats now. It could be zone or man. Like, we'll come downhill and we'll make a play. It's that middle of the field thing that seems to be kind of an issue.
Well, yeah, you got to clean that up, or that's all you're going to see from here on out. So, yeah.
Does anyone know if the addition of teams to the ACC changes the number of gems needed to opt out? I guess votes, teams needed to opt out or dissolve the granted rights ACC?
That sounds like something that happens to me when I'm driving down the road and I speak into Siri, and then I send the message, and then I get to a stoplight, and I check what the message was, and it's a bunch of gobbledygook in which the other person must think I'm insane. So you're like, hey, listen, I think for dinner, maybe we should just get takeout, hon. And then I get to the red light, and it's like, hey, I think you're an asshole. And I'm like, wait a minute, what happened here? What is going on?
It might up it, Greg. It might up it. The vote count needed. That's convoluted, sadly. Since he's being doubled, any chance Verse gets switched around the D-line like Colorado State star defensive lineman was? Well, they run twists, and there was some stuff they did against LSU that didn't get home, but it was because Jaden Daniels had eyes in the back of his head or just got rid of the ball really quickly. Where Braden Fisk is essentially the battering ram that paves the way for Jared Verse to twist around. You'll see more of that. So it can be about lining him up in different places, or it can be just about using the guy next to him. Flapper drumstick guy. I know the answer to this.
Drumstick, yeah.
All the way.
Always. I know.
Tell him it's CP. All drums. You'll take the upcharge.
The purist out there don't like that answer, but that's the answer.
Klubnik over 227. Yes, I'm asking for prize picks.
Over.
Okay. Last couple of questions. I'm scrolling through. Do you think we play worse when we wear alternate uniforms? I don't think it's got anything to do with it.
Correct. Superstition isn't real.
That's like we always have trouble when we go to play Boston College. Like, I don't know that the 2015 game has any bearing on the 2023 game.
Well, I know it doesn't.
It's uninspiring up there. Like, okay, I agree. It's uninspiring.
There are other factors that play a role in that. Sure.
Yep. That might be. Did you watch the 99 documentary last night?
No, I missed it. I didn't even know it was on.
I didn't either. They didn't promote that a whole lot, but apparently it was good. And our boy Keith was on it. Your son's middle school coach was.
Well, I was at the game last night for Clark. So that game, my son had a middle school game, and they lost 12-6, and it was a frustrating game. But I was there with bells on. He made a nice catch on the sideline, and yeah, we'll see. But it was a tough loss. And then I got home and I was tired and I went to bed.
All right. Aloha, Wes. You going to the Virginia Tech game? Yes. There you go. I'll answer that for Wes. Hi, Spartanol. Let's see. We'll end on this note. Maximus says, superstition isn't real. My Sicilian mother would like to have a word about that.
I could say something really funny, but not everybody would take it the right way.
Yeah. Do we still make the playoff if we lose one game? We'll give Troy Noel the capper tonight. I think you can. Absolutely.
Yeah, it's a weird year. It's a weird year. There doesn't appear to be really a lot of dominant teams here. So, yeah, I think you could. Depends on who the loss is to and by how much. If you lose to Clemson Saturday 34-31, and it's a great game, like an all-time game, and then you go on and dominate the rest of your schedule, and you're good enough to get to the ACC championship because of it, yeah, you could. Yeah.
We've got one more question from support at Warchant. Jeff, did you hear about the 50% off Warchant deal?
Can we see that on our screen, please? I have not heard of said deal. Holy moly. Look at this, guys. This week only in the week. It is running out. Tomorrow is Thursday already. Can you believe it? Warchant.com, big game special, 50% off your first year. So, like, normally, in order to pay a talent like Tom Lang and to pay somebody like Aslan or the rising star that is Matt Lasser, or maybe even myself, I don't know, like a grizzled vet like me, in order to pay guys like that, we normally need to charge you somewhere between $400 to $500 a month to make sure we cover our salaries. But we're not doing that these days. And I've questioned the direction of the company, frankly. But what they're doing now is criminal. 50% off. Can you believe this? Look at this, guys. What's that going to run them, Tom, if they get 50% off?
Oh, that runs them under 60 bones, brother.
What?
Yeah, under 60
For
bones.
a year?
And it affords them an opportunity if they sign up right the hell now for tomorrow to get 20% off all T-shirts at Garnet and Gold.
Look at that
Warchant
one on the
members
far
only.
right.
Hmm?
Look at that one on the far right. That sweet ass 93. Yeah, that's where it's at right there.
It's Warchant members only, man. T-shirts aren't cheap these days. That's going to save you like $7 right off the bat for one shirt.
Yeah, and I'm a shirt guy. Like I'm very particular about my shirts, as you well know. And that gold one is where it's at. Tara, if you're listening, I want the gold one. Pull one aside for me, and I'm going to swing in there and get one of those kick-ass ones. Any last question? We got 3 minutes. I'll give you one more.
All right. Lane is concerned about the run game. I even looked back at some Benson highlights and thinking it's him. There's been a lot of dancing, but is it the blocking maybe? It's both, right? I mean, I think it's fair to say that it's both. Yeah,
I think it's both.
You got look for okay. So one thing I'll give Lane, so you can have a sip of that. I see you want a sip of that highlight.
Go ahead.
But it's look at right guard this weekend. You know, Dimitri's been in and out this season, and they've talked about having a rotation. But when Keandre Jones was in the game against Boston College, you talk about getting downhill and physical. Keandre was a little bit better at that. The only limitation would be I don't know that you want to run counter with Keandre Jones pulling to the left.
No, you don't. You don't, Tom. I don't think you want to do that.
That's probably not what you want to do. But if you're just talking about getting meaner and being more sudden and getting downhill, every time a drive starts, if you can, sometimes it's tough on the screen, far side, whatever. Look for 71 or 75 at right guard.
Hey, I got a question for you, Tom. There's two things that I've thought about a little bit with this team early on. And it's interesting because we know what Mike wants to do. He wants to run the ball.
Yeah.
Which sets everything up, right? He wants to run counter, and then he wants to run a lot of the RPO stuff off of that, and then they get the screen game going, and then you're in trouble. When we're rhythmic, Jordan is taking what's there, and we can run the ball. Now we can run the ball a lot of ways. We've run outside zone, inside zone. We've run counter. Don't run a ton of power. I've wondered, Tom, if we could line up at some point with these big SOBs that we're talking about right now, those the Keandre Jones types, and just say at some point, you know what? Right up the gut. I knew you were worried, but let's go.
We're not on the radio. I'm not worried. Yes, last year when they broke out outside zone a little bit more, there was a precursor to that game in which they ran outside zone a little bit. Was it NC State? It might have been. I know they didn't score a whole lot, but we saw it and we're like, oh, okay, interesting. So they broke it out against Clemson in a more prolific way than they had.
Yeah.
It was saved up for that moment. Yeah, do they have something saved up?
I'm gonna guess so, man, because they do such a good job. Multiple games in our history, the bigger games, they come out with something that they think is going to work against a select team, and the bigger games are when they break those out.
Yeah,
I have a suspicion that that's going to happen Saturday. That's why I'm betting on this offense. I really am.
I think they'll be able to run the ball. I think they're going to respond. I know that's I can't cite.
Buddy, if we run the ball, Katie bar the door.
Yeah, I wasn't totally impressed with the Clemson front. They're great at creating pressures and blitz angles that you don't see coming. So Jordan's got to be on his P's and Q's, but you don't want to blitz Jordan anyway. He's very smart in that situation. He usually sees it coming. So I think in a way, they're kind of between a rock and a hard place. Where they're stronger than LSU is that they can cover guys in space one-on-one. They're very good in coverage, I think, but we'll see.
I would put this game on my receivers. On my defensive backs and my receivers, so either side of it, like our conversation. I mean, you've got better receivers than their defensive backs. F you, I'm winning this battle, and I like our DBs against their receivers.
Yeah, agreed.
So let's go. All right, it's after 8 o'clock. What are we doing? Okay, here we go, everybody. Good night. It is, you know what? I've got one more of these, buddy, in the fridge. It's calling me.
I know you went to the high-low for a minute, but now you're back to the high-lie.
Yeah, I figured I was half-stepping. Only two. I only have two. I have this one and the one that I'm about to drink in the fridge right now. And then I'm gonna go to bed. I'm boring these days, guys. I'm not the partier I was. It's a busy week. I'm gonna go.
Yeah.
Hey, baseball is awesome right now. Have you looked at all the possibilities in
Good night,
baseball?
everybody. No, just
Have you looked at all the possibilities in baseball?
I mean, yes, I've seen the National League wild card. The Mets play somebody who's in the thick of that thing every night. That's separated by a game from wild card 2 to wild
Your
card.
wife should be watching the Twins every night. Do you realize?
Yeah, they're about to clinch the division. Yeah.
Well, but there's a path for them to be the 2.
Yeah.
And buddy, you can get that at like +1. Excuse me.
We haven't signed off yet.
Hey, did you get my text about sing a time?
I did. Yeah. Yeah.
Tell me you laughed at that. I was like, buddy,
Dude, he's been really good. Like, of that staff, you go get a bunch of Cy Young winners, and here's the guy from Japan in his first year, and he's the one that carries the load.
I love him. All right, we got to go. Be good. Thanks, everybody. That was fun. And for Tom Lang, I'm Jeff. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Jeff Cameron Show tomorrow afternoon. Hey, anything going on the site right now besides the 50% off?
Well, YouTubers can get $1 for 2 months if you prefer to just try warchant.com for $1. You go to warchant.com, hit login, and use code FSU and the number 1. The code FSU and the number 1. So that's going on. I mean, there's lots of content on the site right now. Recruiting breakdowns. Michael Langston has 5 dudes to watch to close out the 2024 season. That includes Jeremiah Smith, the all-everything wide receiver that we would really like to get. Also, apropos of nothing, look at the bottom of the screen if you want help for situations like with a Jeremiah Smith. There might be a URL that you would follow to help procure guys like a Jeremiah Smith.
So
there's
the
a lot more
Battles
content.
In is doing the Lord's work, and I'm just letting you know now, I like competitive football. I like winning games. So does the Battles End.
Yep.
Peace.